What gauge guitar string do you use?
Most of the time tens, regular tens, and sometimes nines, depending on the guitar. But I've been pretty consistent through the years with that. And the brand is SIT. Though in emergencies, I'll use Diodarios, or even Markleys. They're all good strings.
Would you ever record with Billy Squier again?
I am such a Billy Squier fan. I had a blast on the Tale of the Tape record, and it's a very interesting question because I think everyone should understand that Billy actually asked me to join his band, okay? And that was after his first solo record, which wasn't a big hit. He had one song that made some noise called Big Beat, but the truth is, I was still working with Michael Bolton in a band called Blackjack, and I think, I stayed loyal to Blackjack and Michael, and then our whole band lost the record deal, and the whole thing fell apart. And what's crazy about that is the fact that Billy's next record, Billy was really pissed at me at the time that I didn't continue with him, and then he took off like a bat out of hell, and became huge. And then I was like freaking out because nothing was going on. Then I got a call to help out Kiss, and then I wound up in Kiss for 12 years. So, it's kind of interesting how one door closes and then it opens, and you never know, what your path in life is going to be.
Right.
But I've always had a lot of respect for Billy, and of course in the end, he never, wasn't like, oh, I could never talk to Bruce again, that kind of thing. But I just think he's a great artist and a very good songwriter, too.
I'm glad you brought up Michael Bolton. One of the other questions, it's kind of a funny question. Somebody asked me to ask you, did he really rock back then in Blackjack?
But, he was really into bands like Led Zeppelin and Bad Company, and in some ways, one of his solo records after Blackjack, he almost looked like a David Coverdale on the cover. So the answer to that is absolutely. It's just he was a good songwriter who could adapt to a lot of things. And once I think he started just writing songs for writing songs, if you know what I mean, I don't even think he expected to be the artist of those songs, but then he was, if you know what I mean. And next thing you know, he's winning a Grammy, and he's your mother's favorite artist. So I knew he was always very talented and very driven, and I was not shocked at all that he kind of hit the lottery and became a big star. I was very, very proud of him with that.
I know a lot of people talk to you about Kiss, and with that comes people wanting to know about Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. What was it like to work with Eric Carr?
Well, Eric was a wonderful guy. He was very funny, very cool with the fans. And then, I have to admit that he was at times unhappy about being in Kiss, which is kind of weird. I mean, I walked into the situation go like, oh my God, now I'm in like one of the most famous bands in the world. This is so cool. But Eric already had a few years behind him in the band, and he saw some of the, things that go on that he didn't think, was like what he expected or whatever. So at times I'd be like, are you crazy? Stop complaining, you know what I mean? And that was an interesting side. But nobody in the band was kind to the fans. Nobody in the band had the kind of like love for like going down to the lobby, making sure every fan got an autograph, even if he was standing in 10-degree weather outside. I mean, the guy was just incredibly gracious with the fans. So I learned a lot from that. He used to write back everybody. I've had fans show me his personal letter that he wrote them, fan letter he wrote back. Very cool stuff like that. And I really miss him. He was a talented guy, very funny, and it was so tragic to lose him.
I guess the biggest question to ask you that everybody wants to know is, if you were ever given the opportunity, would you return to Kiss?
Well, I certainly would love to be in Kiss. I don't have any real desire to be the bass man and be Ace's role. And I think Tommy does that, the proper way for them. Because it would kind of like hurt the 12 years that I represented in the band. Certainly if they decided to take makeup off and do a revenge era tour, I'd be very hurt if I wasn't involved with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I miss being in Kiss, I admit that, but
back in the 70s, you did some work with Kiss with your brother prior to the Animalize album. Is that true?
No, my brother did. You know, my brother was involved with some ghost guitar work with, I think it was the studio tracks from Alive 2, and I think that, what was it called? There was I'm not remembering the name of it, but there was another kind of not greatest hits, but there was something else that came out that he had a track, he did some guitar work for. And of course he played, you know, on Paul's solo records, so, you know, it was never me. I mean, my first thing was a little bit of work on Animalize.
Okay.
But I think they're confusing that with my brother.
Okay. You actually sent me a response for the magazine of what your most memorable experience was, and you said, of course, that it was playing Madison Square Garden because you grew up in New York and you knew once you played there that you would hit the big time.
Right.
Care to tell that story?
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously it's hard to only mention one, but the truth is that was probably my first biggest, like, I guess I would say, oh my God, I made it moment, you know. I had some real exciting times with Meatloaf too, where suddenly I'm playing these giant venues and everything, but there was just something about playing the Garden with Kiss, seeing Led Zeppelin on that stage as a teenager, seeing Hendrix on the stage there. Madison Square Garden, if you're a New Yorker, had a very, very important role in being the premier, you know, concert venue. Kind of like a Royal Albert Hall in London, you know what I mean?
Right.
And there's a thing about it, you know, that's, you know, later on the Meadowlands became really important, and then of course if you're really very huge, you're playing Giant Stadium or whatever, or Shea Stadium, you know what I mean? But it just really, you know, I just really was like so, I remember buying tickets for a lot of my friends, you know, I mean, because, you know, we were all living in New York then, we couldn't accommodate, you know, everybody on a guest list, so it's just like, oh, I don't care, oh, I only get this many, you know, comps, okay, I'm buying, I need like 25 tickets, you know what I mean, and I'm actually buying them for my friends, because, you gotta remember, I hadn't been in the band more than probably a year and a half at that point, so for them to come to the Garden to see me play on stage with Kiss is just, you know, that's cool.
That had to be very cool.
Yeah, so it meant a lot to me, you know, and I was so excited to share it with my friends.
That's
You know,
all.
so